on Professor Jonathan Moyo to come back home and making offers of vehicles of his choice. We've seen people actually going back to the history of Jonathan Moyo. Jonathan exposing, in fact, the double standards nature of Professor Jonathan Moyo. Now, Professor Jonathan Moyo, as usual, he decided to respond I mean, while attempting to respond, he is using the very same tools that people actually are actually attacking him with. Greetings and welcome to your lovely channel, the Hlonipani Global News. If you're watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. So Professor Jonathan wrote the following. He says, beware of the ad hominem fallacy in the debate on Constitution amendments 2026, scoundrels, charlatans, and misfits of society respond to speech whose logic and facts they cannot disprove or match by demonizing and besmirching the speaker. He goes on to say an ad hominem fallacy from the Latin phrase meaning to the person occurs in arguments when someone attacks the character, motives, personal traits, or situation of the person making an argument rather than addressing the substance or merits of the argument itself. The purpose of the tactic is to divert attention from the actual issue, but the question is diverting attention from what? People, they are not diverting attention. In fact, people who are arguing on X, they are, I mean, unambiguous in terms of, I mean, fighting against the new constitution that is being introduced by Mnangagwa, most probably, in fact, advised by the very Professor Jonathan Moyo. So he says the purpose of the tactic is to divert attention from the actual issue without engaging the arguments, evidence, or logic. The personal attacks doesn't refute the point being made. An example of this is when an academic trained at the highest level and published in economics, Professor Gift Mungano was mocked and demonized by social media malcontents who could not engage the data and methodology involved for technically highlighting the announcement by the Zim Treasury and Reserve Bank Zim that January 2026 marked the first single-digit annual inflation rate in the ZiG currency in over 3 decades, a transformative 4.1% year-to-year drop that signals significant economic revival in the country. So Jonathan Moyo's talking of this fiction by Emerson Mnangagwa. Does this mean that the man wants to come back to Zimbabwe because he appears to be really genuine to Emerson Mnangagwa? He goes on to say the mockery and demonization to which Prof Mungano was subjected is called an ad hominem fallacy to describe the fact that it fails to provide a substantive, technical, and logical rebuttal. It is tried that sound arguments should stand or fall on their own evidence, not on who presents them. Relying on ad hominem fallacy in lieu of insightful commentary demonstrates one's intellectual poverty as it avoids substantive and informing debate. There are 3 common types of ad hominem fallacies, especially on social media platforms such as these streets. One is abusive and hominem, which uses direct insults. For example, you are a mercenary, so your evidence or analysis is worthless. Another type is circumstantial ad hominem, which involves attacking person based on his or her social situation or affiliations. For example, of course, you will say that you are ZANU PF, yet there is another type best described as Tukwi Q or hominem, you too based on purporting to point out one's hypocrisy. For example, you are supporting the proposed constitutional amendment today, but in 2018 you criticized the President Mnangagwa and called him unelectable, which doesn't address the substance and merits of the amendments. The third type of ad hominem fallacy is particularly rampant here on X, where some TL scavengers who scavenge posts or tweets from a donkey's years ago and use them with reckless abandon as their only data without context or relevance against speakers whose speech on a current and topical issue they cannot completely engage or challenge with substance, logic, or facts. You see, it appears people are really making Professor Jonathan Moyo to be angry on Twitter. That's why he's trying now to be a professor of tweet. Let me see, you know, the comment section always has points. Someone says, hey, Prof Jonathan Moyo, I get you. Earlier, I highlighted in another post that people should not be abusive to you. But if I may wear the hat of the public to which I belong, the anger with you academics is your lack of consistency, your political gymnastic somersaults. If you have been telling us that this is black and all of a sudden you tell us black is now white, your credibility becomes a subject of meme. As for Gift Mugano, if you read this, you will understand the frustration. And someone responds saying, you learned, Professor, do not worry about what happened in the past. It has forgiven you for the comments you made in the past. Like I have always said to you in the past, the streets of Harare are missing you. This time around, you will not be crying. Mom, save us. You are better off fighting those you think are recycling your old tweets here in Zim and not Kenya. Come home, we miss you. We need you on the dance floor. You see, this is very, very... I'm interested to see whether Professor Jonathan Moyo will attempt coming to Zimbabwe. And I can attest to you, this one I can predict, it will end in tears for him. I mean, there won't be Professor Jonathan anymore. I know he listens to such live broadcast. There won't be Professor Jonathan anymore. Someone says, we get the point, but at times the person is very important, especially if they had warned before. We have to be cautious when they change. A snake sheds its skin, but at least remains with same color. You instead are a chameleon. You change colors. What has changed now? Someone quote Jonathan Moyo speaking some years back about Mnangagwa. He says, cruelty, murder, sex, money, and tribalism in no particular order are Mnangagwa's core values. Let me repeat them. Cruelty, murder, sex, money, and tribalism in no particular order are his core values. He is bad news. There is no living person ever forgiven by Mnangagwa. And there is no case of him ever genuinely reconciling with anyone he has considered a political or ethnic foe. So people are asking, what really has changed, Professor Jonathan Moyo? You see, some actually goes to someone says, Calling something ad hominem doesn't automatically make the argument correct. The real question is whether the claims themselves withstand scrutiny. Someone says, okay, and tagged that Professor Jonathan Moyo wrote. You know, one thing about social media never forgets. You see, we can go back and actually extract. He says, this is what Professor Jonathan Moyo said about Mnangagwa. Is a lot of things, some of which are unspeakable ugly. But one thing that everyone can now see beyond any doubt is that he is not presidential material. He is far from it, such that every day that goes by with him in that office is an unrecoverable loss to Zimbabwe's recovery. I think what Professor Jonathan Moyo said before and what he is saying now is really, I mean, it is quite relevant now than when he was saying it back then. But unfortunately, he is on the side of Emerson Tambudzo Mnangagwa. Someone says, bear in mind, it is not ad hominem when credibility is directly relevant. Can one testimonies be relied upon given the checkered history of the individual? Apparent bias material affects evidentiary weight, and conflict of interest is part of evaluating evidence. Not every challenge is fallacious. It becomes personal when reflecting vested interest. When you started calling people scoundrels, lest we forget where it began. It began, actually. Some say it's written began, so I had to correct it and say began. Let me get yes. You know, these people who actually post the snippets of what Jonathan Moyo said. Someone says they tweeted what Jonathan Moyo said before. But for the record, Mnangagwa is an unelectable dunderhead. He tweeted this at exactly 2:01. That was in 13 February, and it was 2020. People can really change. Someone repeats that. Okay. And then this was posted by also Professor Jonathan Moyo. He says, Barakashi, I don't oppose E.T. Mnangagwa because of who he is as a person. I oppose him for what he stands for and what he does not stand for as an illegal state house occupant. He stands for himself, his family, his clan, and his cronies. He does not stand for Zimbabwean citizens. I wonder what changed then to Professor Jonathan Moyo, because what he said then speak louder and is of more relevance than what actually he is trying to defend at the moment. Quite interesting. And you know, you can actually play other people from other countries, not Zimbabweans. Zimbabweans will come after you, especially you can't make a mistake in the past and seek to think that Zimbabweans will forget so easily. It's very, very difficult for Zimbabweans to forget. So Professor Jonathan Moyo exhibiting his double standards. Thank you very much for watching us. If you are watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. You can financially support this channel by pressing the join button and be part of our members who are the heartbeat of this channel. You can equally do so by pressing the thanks button and send us stars. Okan Mube Umhlabane is signing off. Let me love and